Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show. In the evening, Li Xian exchanged the time of the chef's space to enter it again, not because he did a lottery to get a new recipe, but in order to improve a dish, that is, the magic 6-flavor mapo tofu. The spicy flavor of mapo tofu has been perfectly reproduced by Li Xian, and now it is not only a reproduction, but also wants to innovate to make this dish a step further. Mapo tofu is the representative of Sichuan cuisine. Although it smells very strong, it is very mild to eat in the stomach. The wonderful taste makes one's hands involuntarily happy, and makes the body that is weakened to the extreme recover mildly. The ultimate and the perfect combination of tofu and meat. The 6 flavors that I have been talking about are composed of these ingredients: spicy, red pepper and bean paste; fragrant, the aroma of young garlic leaves; color, red pepper; white tofu, green leaves; hot, the pot is about to be burnt; thyme, hemp, sandpepper; crisp, specially made soybean ground meat. The ground meat made from soybeans has no oil at all. It is very refreshing. Every piece of meat is not greasy, and the crispy and fluffy meat is very delicious. Li Xian's desire to start a new creation is not without reason and no brains. Don't forget, the wild tofu that he won from the first lottery has never been used. The other prizes are basically used, only the wild tofu. The magic ingredient has not been used yet. Li Xian is using wild tofu to replace the original tofu, so that the 6-flavor mapo tofu adds a new taste. If you want to taste the taste of tofu, you often have to use the simplest cooking method. Li Xian took out the wild tofu and cut it into cubes of suitable size, just 1 bite. Then pour the oil into the hot pot, and put the pieces of wild tofu neatly into the pot. As soon as the tofu comes into contact with the hot oil, there is a zzz sound. The contact surface between the small oil-soaked wild tofu and the iron pot continued to emerge and dissipate. In the process, the rich aroma of the wild tofu was fully stimulated. When both sides are golden brown, Li Xian evenly sprinkles a little salt to taste, and the fragrant pan-fried tofu is out of the oven. Li Xian picked up a piece of tofu with chopsticks and put it in his mouth. The fried golden brown skin was very crispy in 1 bite. Coupled with the enticing salty taste, his mouth was suddenly detonated. Immediately afterwards, the fluffy and soft interior was revealed, as smooth and tender as bean curd, slipping from the throat into the stomach without noticing. This is an invincible and delicious tofu taste, and the rich aroma makes you feel as if you are in an infinite stretch of wilderness when you taste it. After eating all the pan-fried tofu in his hand, Li Xian knew what the new taste of mapo tofu could be after using wild tofu. That is tender. In other words, it is soft. This is also the most unique part of wilderness tofu. The difference from ordinary tofu is that it can be so tender after frying for a long time. How strong? Of course, wilderness tofu has more than one point. For example, its strong fragrance will add a lot of color to this dish, but mapo tofu already has a fragrant taste, so it can only be said to be the icing on the cake. Now that he discovered that wilderness tofu can really change mapo tofu from 6 flavors to 7 flavors, Li Xian immediately used wilderness tofu to cook a plate of mapo tofu. Heat up a pot, add more oil, add minced garlic, tempeh, red pepper, ground meat made from soybeans, sweet noodle sauce, and the soul of Sichuan cuisine, bean paste. Stir-fry together. The bean paste makes the sauce bright red. Stir-fry it until the color is bright, then add the soup. Wait until it boils, add the wild tofu, season with wine and seasoning, and simmer for a while on low heat. Add the soy sauce, sprinkle with the young leaves of the garlic, then mix the taibai powder with water to thicken it, then add the oil along the edge of the pot and cook it over high heat. Finally, sprinkle a sufficient amount of sancho peppers. The pungent spicy taste of sancho peppers is the unique hemp inside. To eat mapo tofu, of course, rice is indispensable. Rice and mapo tofu are a perfect match. Li Xian was holding a large bowl of rice. He first scooped a spoonful of 7-flavored mapo tofu with a spoon and tasted it. Sure enough, the tenderness of the wild tofu was perfectly integrated, and because of the original strong fragrance of the wild tofu, it also made the aroma of this dish has increased a lot. The wild tofu will not become old and hard if it is simmered in the pot on a low fire, and the original wild tofu will become fluffy and soft because it absorbs water. Therefore, when cooking, Li Xian added a little more soup, and the wild tofu that absorbed all the sauce was not only tasted with the sauce on the outside, but the whole piece of tofu had a taste. Li Xian felt that his improvement this time was very perfect and achieved the effect he wanted. He poured a plate full of mapo tofu into the rice, mapo tofu plate house, YYDS. When he got up in the morning, Li Xian usually went to the back door to fill up the drinking fountain before thinking about the next work. Looking at the still deserted backyard, Li Xian finally remembered what he had missed and didn't do, which was to revise the backyard and turn it into his own vegetable garden. Do it if you think of it. Anyway, with Li Xian's current physical fitness, it won't take long to renovate the backyard. Li Xian found the corresponding tools in the grocery room in the backyard. Pull up all the weeds by the roots, otherwise, just like the ancient poem says, the wildfire will not burn out and the spring breeze will blow again. Then turn all the land over, leave enough drainage and gaps for people to walk, and cultivate the soil into row by row ridges. It happens that the weather has been pretty good recently. Under the exposure of the sun, the eggs and pests hidden in the soil will be dried to death, and the tiny stubble of the weeds that have not been cleaned up will also be turned out. Inactive under sun exposure. The soil that has been turned over breaks the compaction and enhances the aeration and water permeability of the soil. Because Li Xian specially sent a message to Tadakoro Megumi before starting work, he was busy in the backyard today, so Tadakoro Megumi, who did not see Li Xian when he came to the store this time, was not surprised, and went straight to the backyard. In just over an hour, Li Xian had the backyard almost done, and when Tadakoro Megumi arrived, Li Xian was doing the finishing touches. "Shall we? You're here? It just so happens that I'm almost done here, just wait a moment." Tadakoro Megumi looked at the neat field in front of her with a bit of jaw-dropping. She took out her phone and looked at it. Li Xian sent herself a message saying that it was after 8 o'clock in the morning when she was going to get busy. "I came out half an hour earlier in order to help me out earlier, and it's only 9:30. And Tadakoro Megumi had seen the overgrown backyard before, so it took Li Xian just over an hour to completely tidy up the backyard? Tadakoro Megumi felt that Li Xian was breaking her limit on the concept of human again and again. "Okay, you're done." Li Xian patted the dirt in his palms and nodded with satisfaction while looking at the renovated backyard. This is what he imagined it should look like. Especially when the plants you planted later take root and sprout and grow, it will be even more beautiful. "Shall we? Come in and wait for me. I'll take a shower first." The price of getting the job done quickly is that Li Xian is now filthy and covered in mud. Tadakoro Megumi nodded, went to change his clothes, went to the restaurant on the first floor, took out the tea set, boiled water and started making tea. After washing up, Li Xian came to the first floor and smelled the fragrance of tea. He saw Tadakoro Megumi making tea there and sat down opposite her. "I just happened to be thirsty, shall we?" is really considerate. Hearing Li Xian's compliments, and looking at Li Xian's beautiful and fair face just after taking a shower, Tadakoro Megumi blushed. He hurriedly picked up his teacup and drank it, trying to block his little red face. Li Xian was busy drinking tea and didn't notice the embarrassment of the little girl opposite. Maybe saw it. But it's good not to say don't embarrass her too much. "By the way, Li Xian brother, have you bought the seeds to be planted in the backyard? If you haven't, you don't have to. I'll give you some." Tadakoro Megumi suddenly remembered this and asked. "That's not true," Li Xian asked curiously, "but where did you get the seeds?" "Don't forget, the Polar Star dorm where I live, everyone usually grows a lot of high-quality ingredients there. After our training, at least the quality is better than the ones on the market." Hearing this, Li Xian suddenly realized, how could he forget that they also have a large piece of land in Polar Star dorm where they are planting. "If Li Xian brother, you are planning to grow those magical ingredients here, just pretend I didn't say it." Tadakoro Megumi suddenly remembered the delicious and magical ingredients that Li Xian brought out. If nothing else, the soda watermelon that almost everyone in the store will order is much better than the quality of the ingredients there. Li Xian waved his hand. No, I just plan to grow some ingredients for my daily consumption. The ingredients in the store are all from specialized suppliers, and those unique ingredients have high requirements on the environment. There is no way to grow it here. As for what kind of seeds I want, I'll tell you when I think about it later. Hearing Li Xian's words, Tadakoro Megumi also felt relieved, for fear that he had just made a fool of himself with those words. Of course he did it out of good intentions. In fact, the current backyard has only been tidied up a little. Later, Li Xian also wanted to make a major renovation to the backyard. For example, in order to prevent the problem of water accumulation, Li Xian needs to design the drainage, and then plant this piece. Li Xian plans to divide the area with bricks or special boxes for planting, so as to avoid soil erosion. In addition, when the aisles in the backyard are paved with blue bricks with drainage holes or other materials, there will be no embarrassing scenes where the whole backyard is muddy and there is no place to go, and it is also very neat and clean. Li Xian didn't want to make a mess in the backyard because of building a small plantation, which did not meet his expectations at all, so Li Xian saw if he could discuss with the system a little later to let it come up with a plan and contract the project to it. Li Xian is still very confident about the system in this regard. Just look at the current restaurant, and he is deeply loved by everyone. After drinking tea and resting for a while, Li Xian brought Tadakoro Megumi into the kitchen to get busy. Today, the dish that Tadakoro Megumi wanted to taste was silky chicken stewed rice. Of course, Tadakoro Megumi will not tell Li Xian that he wants to eat this dish today, because he thinks this dish is easier and less labor-intensive compared to the fried shrimp in yunlong. After all, Li Xian has been busy for so long just now. Even if Li Xian doesn't feel tired and doesn't even have any problems, don't guess what the little girl is thinking. Braised rice with silky chicken depends on time, so Li Xian usually cooks it ahead of time, and just brings it out when customers order. Li Xian's braised rice with silky chicken is only the rice and the silky chicken, not everything. In fact, normally, the whole silky chicken should be served out so that the guests can eat again. Can eat meat. But for Li Xian, the silky chicken that has been simmered for a long time has completely lost its taste, and the meat has become hard and woody. The price was slightly lower as compensation. After all, the food for the cats and dogs in the back has been getting better since yesterday, and all those silky chicken Li Xian were taken for them to eat without wasting food. The pricing for the newly acquired 3-course Li Xian is as follows. Fake crispy barbecue, 2,000 yen. Silky chicken braised rice, 2,000 yen. Yunlong fried shrimp, 5,000 yen/PC. The price of Li Xian also takes into account the cost, especially the fried shrimp in yunlong, which has now become the most expensive dish in Li Xian's restaurant. The reason is that Li Xian chooses Boston lobster, even if the purchase price is about 3,000 yen/only. This does not include other materials and other costs. One of them weighs at least 1 kilogram, so Li Xian is not considered very dark. This dish can only be said to be based on personal strength, and Li Xian does not insist on it. Today, although I mainly tried the new dish of braised silky chicken for Tadakoro Megumi, I have to say that braised silky chicken has captured her as always. This sweetness that swept through like a turbulent wave made Tadakoro Megumi feel as if he was standing in front of the sea composed of silky chicken soup, letting the waves keep hitting him, and every chew was a shock. With an elegant and sweet unique flavor, one can't even imagine that this is a medicinal meal. If Miss Hisako has tasted Li Xian's ideal ingredients, she will be shocked. After all, she can match the herbs with the ingredients perfectly, and there is no taste unique to the herbs. This is really an amazing skill. The Hisako that Tadakoro Megumi thought was of course Nakiri Arina's sidekick, Arado Hisako called the secretary. And Arado Hisako is best at medicinal food, so Tadakoro Megumi has this idea. Come on, I've tried braised rice with silky chicken, and then try this maipo tofu. This maipo tofu has a new flavor. Li Xian pushed the maipo tofu in front of Tadakoro Megumi. As the first guest to taste the guinea pig, crossed out, Li Xian still hoped to be recognized by Tadakoro Megumi. Is it an improved version of Mapo tofu? Tadakoro Megumi did not expect that Li Xian not only came up with new dishes these days, but also took the time to improve Mapo tofu. You know, when Tadakoro Megumi tasted Mapo tofu for the first time, it really makes me feel embarrassed even thinking about it now. The 6-in-1 Mapo tofu is already the most amazing tofu dish that Tadakoro Megumi has ever eaten. It seems that the improved version of Mapo tofu is no different from the previous Mapo tofu, and the spiciness, color, and fragrance are still the same. I carefully clamped a piece of tofu, for fear that it would break with a little force, and put the trembling tofu into my mouth. Hot, hemp, crisp. Tadakoro Megumi still tasted these three flavors, and when she was wondering which new flavor Li Xian was talking about, the tofu cubes slipped from her lips and teeth into her throat without her noticing. This feeling? Tadakoro Megumi didn't use chopsticks anymore, so he picked up a spoonful of it and put it into his mouth. Sure enough, this feeling, Li Xian brother, the new taste is tender. Compared with the previous Mapo tofu, although the aroma has improved a lot, the original 6 flavors are still the same, but the tofu used this time is especially soft and tender, and the fluffy taste slips into the stomach without noticing. Tadakoro Megumi chewed and analyzed. Li Xian nodded with a smile, and took out another plate of tofu from the side. This time a new magical ingredient is used, called wilderness tofu, which you can try. As for the name, the reason is that the unique fragrance of this tofu will make you feel like you are standing on the boundless wilderness. Tadakoro Megumi curiously ate the wild tofu cooked by Li Xian alone. As he said, although he said it many times, every time Tadakoro Megumi felt that his previous brave apprenticeship was really great. Awesome. I have only been here for more than a week, but I have learned a lot, and I have also seen magical ingredients that I have never seen before. This is something that cannot be done with money. And now I not only have no money, but I can taste it every day. What a lucky guy I am. The stone fruit is mashed, wrapped in whole shrimp with tofu skin to seal the sauce, and then deep fried until golden brown. Tadakoro Megumi stood and watched, using a small notebook to record the ratio between stone fruit and shrimp meat, and the adjustment of high and low oil temperature during frying, all of which require strong skills and rich experience. Today is Li Xian's new 3-course dish. Tadakoro Megumi has never tasted yunlong fried shrimp, so Tadakoro Megumi can't help swallowing while recording. The aroma is too tempting. The fried yunlong fried shrimp was neatly placed on the table one by one. Looking at the dazzling dishes on the table, Tadakoro Megumi felt that if he hadn't been busy recently, he might have gained a lot of weight. No way, Li Xian's food here is so delicious, every time you eat it, you can't stop eating it, and with Li Xian, the big stomach king, the quantity will definitely not be small, so under this unlimited supply, basically it's a happy trouble to eat until you eat it every time. If it weren't for the aroma of the fried stone fruit coat, the unremarkable appearance of the yunlong fried shrimp would really not make people have too much anticipation and desire to taste. Of course, this mediocre dish is compared to Li Xian's other dishes. The red prawn head and prawn tail, and the golden body in the middle are still pretty good looking. Tadakoro Megumi also doesn't use chopsticks. The huge lobster is a little unstable with chopsticks. Put on disposable gloves and start it directly. She doesn't think the yunlong fried shrimp in front of her is so ordinary. Li Xian's operation and ingenuity just now looking aside, Tadakoro Megumi carefully took a bite of the fried shrimp, her mouth tightly closed, because she knew very well that under the coat of stone fruit, it was filled with an unimaginably rich sauce. The crispness of the stone fruit coat, the chewiness of the bean skin that soaks up the sauce, the sweet and cube-ounce shrimp meat, and finally the round and smooth sauce made by mixing egg yolks and oil with milk and sugar. This kind of combination is simply wonderful. The main difference from ordinary fried shrimp is that the sauce is sealed instead of being poured on at the end. In this way, the droop coat will not lose its crispy texture after it comes into direct contact with the sauce. The second point is that the sauce encapsulated inside allows the shrimp to absorb the flavor of the sauce. The third is that the bean skin added to seal the sauce also gives the dish more flavor and texture. Li Xian is also eating a cloud-long fried shrimp. The idea of this dish is actually very similar to another dish. In other words, the little master can come up with such a small idea, which is a unique dish he learned in the process of traveling. Cooking spherical rice dishes. Different from ordinary rice cooker, spherical rice cooker also seals the sauce inside, and it is precisely because of this dish that the young master can have the appearance of yunlong fried shrimp. The weather looks good today, and the backyard has been in the sun for 2 days today, and it's almost the same. I have to choose a design plan with the system tonight and start work. Li Xian thought while eating. The idea that he wants to pay the system to get the plan and let the system operate is feasible, but the price is a bit painful for him. It should make him feel a little distressed now, then it's a 10-run draw. That's right, the price given by the system is 1 million yen, including the plan and the follow-up transformation. In fact, this price seems to be quite a lot, but if it is converted into the currency of the previous life, it is only tens of thousands of yuan, which is not expensive at all. Cost-effective. Produced by the system, it must be a boutique. At least leave everything to the system to operate. Li Xian's heart at ease, the quality is guaranteed, he doesn't want to spend money and there will be a bunch of bullshit things to deal with by himself. It's just that Li Xian originally planned to have another 10 consecutive visits this weekend, but it seems that it may be delayed for a day or two. After all, he still has to operate a store, so he still needs to keep the liquidity that should be left. Once the system draws, there is no way to return it. Although the current level of popularity of the store makes it impossible to have a shortage of money, even if Li Xian spends all the money in the store at once, the business will continue the next day. Started to accumulate again. In addition, Li Xian has more contact with the food suppliers now, and there is no need for a daily settlement. The daily settlement is too troublesome. Now it has become a weekly settlement. If the cooperation is very pleasant in the future, it can also become a monthly settlement. As for quarterly or half-yearly closing, this is unlikely. After all, Li Xian has a large number of people, and the risk of monthly closing is not small. We'll make this decision. After all, there is no shortage of restaurants in this world. There are countless restaurants that open and close every day. Jiuji Kongxing was trying to win over Li Xian and save such a big customer from being poached by competitors. However, whether it is a weekly or a quarterly ending, has little effect on Li Xian, especially after the dimensional restaurant opens and the food world has been unlocked. Li Xian doesn't care about money anymore. Not sure how much. In the evening, after feeding the cats and dogs, Li Xian lay on the bed and looked at the several plans that the system came up with according to his own requirements. Picking and choosing, Li Xian finally decided on the most natural and reasonable design. Divide the planting area into pieces, so that Li Xian can plan according to his own needs, instead of dividing it by himself. In addition, the imitation bamboo scaffolding can also allow Li Xian to grow vines such as grapes, which can also play a role in shading in summer. In addition, there is a fish pond with living water in the backyard. Li Xian plans to buy some ornamental fish to raise later. The rest worth mentioning is that there is a small pavilion specially reserved, where you can have a barbecue with friends, or drink tea in the pavilion and enjoy the rain when it is raining. There is also a cat house and a kennel for cats and dogs that have been exposed to the wind and the sun outside. After the construction is completed, they can be checked in and injected. Although the cat and kennels didn't look very big, Li Xian was very skeptical at first, but according to the system, there were more kennels than the actual ones, similar to the mustard seed space. Hearing this, Li Xian thought of Wuling, the magic car in his previous life. How did you say that? You never know how many people are sitting in a Wuling. And according to the system, even if there are more cats and dogs in Li Xian later, they will automatically increase inside. The internal environment must be good enough for Li Xian not to worry. For this, Li Xian is very satisfied, giving full marks to such after-sales service, with a 5-star praise. After selecting it, the money in Li Xian's card will be automatically deducted by 1 million yen. After looking at the bank's prompt message, Li Xian manually read and deleted it and fell asleep. The next afternoon, Li Xian and Tadakoro Megumi were busy in the kitchen. The renovation of the backyard will also take a day. There is nothing to do this afternoon. After waking up, Li Xian seems to be looking for some work for himself, so he remembers the sweet whole fruit he got on Keira Island. I haven't eaten it for a while, and Li Xian misses it. Li Xian took out part of the whole sweet whole fruit pulp from the super backpack. A whole sweet whole fruit is too much, just take a part. The pink jelly-like flesh gathers the sweet essence of cantaloupe, watermelon, mango, apple and other fruits, and the sweet whole fruit captures Tadakoro Megumi at once. So now Tadakoro Megumi is busy making fruit pudding, which is actually very simple, soaking gelatin in water. The whole sweet fruit pulp is juiced and filtered to filter the residue. In fact, the jelly-like pulp of the sweet whole fruit will not have too much residue. Then the juice is heated in water to melt the gelatin pieces, stir and put them into the mold and then freeze and solidify. Because the sweetness of the sweet whole fruit is sufficient, there is no need to add additional sugar. Knowing Li Xian's appetite, Tadakoro Megumi deliberately made a lot more, and learned from Tadakoro Megumi that Ryoko and Yoshino Yuki in Polar Star Dorm are also back, and asked her to make more to bring back to them, as well as management member Fumio Daimido mother-in-law. And Li Xian is using the largest non-stick pan in the kitchen to boil the jam. The sweet and whole fruit is delicious enough to eat like this. If it is made into jam and the excess water is removed, the taste will definitely be better. Go up one floor. Li Xian simmered slowly over low heat, stirring while simmering. According to the general method of making jam, add some white sugar or maltose to make the jam more sweet. After all, the sugar contained in ordinary fruit is still not enough. But the sweet whole fruit is not needed at all. It is enough to rely on its own sweetness. The purpose of making jam is to facilitate storage and use, and also to increase different ways of eating. The kitchen is full of sweet whole fruit sweetness, but it's not overwhelming. Feeling that it was almost there, Li Xian packed the jam into small transparent glass bottles that had been cleaned a long time ago. The amount of about 250 milliliters was just right. It is a good choice whether Li Xian eats it himself or brings it as a gift. At this time, Tadakoro Megumi can put the frozen fruit pudding in the refrigerator. Li Xian asked Tadakoro Megumi to send some pudding and jam to the next door to Granny Seikai, and he continued to work. It didn't take long for Tadakoro Megumi to come back with a smile, but I don't know why my face was red, and I didn't dare to look at Li Xian. The two put the fruit pudding and jam on the table. Li Xian also brought out the main cake of the Trumpet Lion, plus watermelon soda, and the whole fruit banquet afternoon tea. The Trumpet Lion's extremely soft and exquisite main cake has a different flavor after being smeared with a special jam made from sweet whole fruits. The fruit pudding made by Tadakoro Megumi shows the taste of sweet whole fruit vividly. As expected of the fruit of the earth, the sweet whole fruit of the fruit chowder, in this pudding, the luxurious and dazzling sweetness of many fruits concentrated in this pudding is really satisfying. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. I'm back. In the evening, Tadakoro Megumi returned to Polar Star Dorm with the fruit pudding he made in the afternoon and the jam made by Li Xian. After changing his shoes and running to the kitchen for a while, Tadakoro Megumi rang the rooms of Ryoko Sakaki and Yoshino Yuki respectively. Door. Come down, I brought something delicious from the restaurant today. *2. Sakaki Ryoko and Yoshino Yuki came to the restaurant on the first floor, and Fumio Daimido was already sitting at the table. How could the well-behaved Tadakoro Megumi forget her? What kind of food did you bring back from your good brother today? It's rare for you to bring us all together. As soon as he sat down, Yoshino Yuki started laughing and joking about Tadakoro Megumi. No way, who made Tadakoro Megumi come back to Li Xian after he started studying art at Li Xian? If it wasn't for Ryoko Sakaki and the others, they would have thought that Tadakoro Megumi was being controlled by Li Xian. The look of a pink head. Li Xian was blown away by the fact that he was the only one in this family with super high cooking skills, amazing ingredients, and handsome face, so Yoshino Yuki joked that she did not find a teacher, but a boyfriend. Especially when it comes to Li Xian's cooking that glows, how could it glow if it wasn't for the addition of phosphors? However, Fumio Daimito did not refute what Tadakoro Megumi said, that cooking would shine, and being older means more knowledge. In that mysterious country, there is indeed such a legend in the chef world that the real top-notch cuisine will shine. Of course, this is just a rumor, and after learning about Li Xian's age from Tadakoro Megumi, Fumio Daimito thinks it is unlikely. After all, she has seen the golden generation and knows what it is like to be at the peak of this age. It's a pity that she was wrong this time. For a traveler like Li Xian, with a plug-in, breaking the routine and breaking people's perception is like eating and drinking. Of course, there are not only fruit puddings, but also sweet whole fruit jams on the table. Li Xian, the main cake, also brought some back to Tadakoro Megumi. In addition, Tadakoro Megumi just made some simple dishes in the kitchen. Today, Li Xian brought out an ingredient called sweet whole fruit. It is a fruit that combines the flavors of many fruits. We used it to make fruit pudding and jam, as well as the cake, which is also the same as what we usually eat. It's different, that softness, it's just unforgettable. Hearing Tadakoro Megumi's strong amway, a few people were not in a hurry to taste the dishes she made after she came back. Tadakoro Megumi first distributed a fruit pudding to everyone. Looking at the pink and tender pudding, he first captured the hearts of several people in terms of appearance. Regardless of age, there is a girlish heart. Scooping a shaky pudding into his mouth, the first taste felt by each of the three was different. It's cantaloupe. Watermelon flavor. Mine is mango. No, there are other flavors. With one bite after another, they tasted the taste that the others just said, and the taste of apples, grapes, and other fruits appeared, as if countless fruits were placed in a small pudding. This pudding is delicious. Yoshino Yuki complimented while eating, but Ryoko Sakaki asked curiously, why does such a fruit pudding have so many fruit flavors, and they condense together harmoniously without conflict at all? Tadakoro Megumi explained to them the magical ingredient of sweet whole fruit with a smile, and the three of them suddenly understood. The little pudding was quickly eaten up, and Tadakoro Megumi didn't bring just that, but everyone else wanted to try the jam and main cake now. Just grabbing the main cake can feel the softness, and then smearing that magical jam, several people feel their appetites open. Sakaki, Ryoko and the others also know why Tadakoro Megumi has always been full of praise for Li Xian's unique and magical ingredients, and it is definitely not much better if they are replaced by themselves. By the way, where are the extra seeds we put before? Eating and eating, Tadakoro Megumi asked, suddenly. Seeds, I remember putting them in the corner of the room where the tools are kept. What do you want seeds for, shall we? Sakaki Ryoko, who was like a big sister, answered Tadakoro Megumi's question. As for Yoshino Yuki, like a little girl who didn't grow up, it was definitely not clear to ask her. Brother Li Xian has renovated his backyard in the past few days and is going to use it to grow some vegetables. It just so happens that we still have some leftovers, so I will give him some of it. It won't be used much anyway. Hearing Li Xian's words, Ryoko Sakaki didn't say anything, just a little seed. Although the quality of Polar Star Dorm's cultivation is much better than that of the market, it is not a valuable thing. Looking at the dishes that Tadakoro Megumi brought back tonight, it must have been Li Xian's permission to do this. The other party is so generous, and it's unreasonable to be stingy on my own side. The next day, Tadakoro Megumi got up early and went to Li Xian's store as usual. The time passed, the longer Tadakoro Megumi stayed in Li Xian's store, the closer the school day was. So Tadakoro Megumi cherishes these learning days. In the afternoon, Yoshino Yuki in Polar Star Dorm was bored after feeding the cuties she was going to cook with, and now school is not in session, while in Polar Star Dorm she is alone with Ryoko Sakaki. If Tadakoro Megumi was with her when she was still around, she's alone now, while Ryoko Sakaki is busy experimenting with her koji dishes. At this time, Yoshino Yuki, who turned his head wildly and wanted to find something for himself, suddenly saw the large vegetable field outside the Polar Star dorm, and a flash of light flashed in his mind, and thought of a fun thing. The whole person jumped happily and came to Sakaki Ryoko's fermentation workshop to find her. Ryoko! 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 I found something fun. Yoshino Yuki, this is a typical person who arrives before the sound, and before entering the door, the sound comes in first. Ryoko Sakaki, who is busy in the workshop, stands up helplessly, and pulls the falling hair to her ear and binds it tightly. What's the matter? Are you bored again? Sakaki Ryoko, who is like a gentle big sister, looks at Yoshino Yuki, who is rushing in, and compared with the quiet Tadakoro Megumi, she is simply two extremes. One is quiet and gentle and introverted, and the other is carefree and cheerful. The most unbelievable thing is that these two have a very good relationship and get along very well. There are only 3 girls in Polar Star dorm, so Sakaki Ryoko, who is doing her part, has become an older sister, taking care of her 2 younger sisters, although they are almost the same age. I thought of something. Didn't shall we say last night that the restaurant she was in needed some seeds, but this morning shall we was not taken, so we can go to that restaurant to see shall we on the grounds of giving seeds, taste the dishes that shall we praised unbelievably in that restaurant, and the most important thing is to take a look at the manager, right? Sakaki Ryoko didn't have to wait for her to finish speaking, and interrupted her to continue. Looking at Yoshino Yuki's frantic nodding, can't you see that Sakaki Ryoko is just telling her thoughts out? However, Yoshino Yuki's idea touched Ryoko Sakaki, not because she was as curious as the other party, but was a little worried about Tadakoro Megumi, although there was Grandma Sekai there, but seeing is true and hearing is false, Sakaki Ryoko is still a little worried about this soft weak girl. Of course, there is still curiosity in my heart, so Sakaki Ryoko said, well, go to the utility room and get some seeds, choose some, and I will also take some rice juice over there. After all, we still have some seeds. It's presumptuous, so the etiquette must be done well. Ryoko Sakaki is more thoughtful about dealing with people. Although Yoshino Yuki is carefree, it does not mean that his emotional intelligence is not online, so he nodded and hurried to pick seeds. Seeing Yoshino Yuki's flamboyant figure, Ryoko Sakaki shook her head, and found her custom-made container from the side, and filled it with rice juice. Of course, Sakaki Ryoko and Yoshino Yuki both know that Li Xian and Tadakoro Megumi have a rest in the afternoon and usually don't open until around 4 o'clock, so they are not in a hurry. Tadakoro Megumi didn't know that a wave of his friends was on his way. If he knew, he would definitely regret saying this at the dinner table last night. In the afternoon, Li Xian and Tadakoro Megumi prepared the ingredients for the evening in the store. Now the ingredients prepared in the morning are not enough for a day. In the afternoon, some of the missing ingredients will be replenished according to the actual situation at noon. Shall we? We're here to find you. At this moment, Tadakoro Megumi suddenly heard someone calling him, looked up and saw Ryoko Sakaki and Yoshino Yuki, who were standing at the door of the restaurant. How did you come here? Tadakoro Megumi really didn't expect Sakaki Ryoko and the others to come. Although they asked themselves about the location of Li Xian's store before, they said they were free to come, but it's been more than half a month and they haven't come. Didn't you talk about the seeds last night? I saw that you didn't bring them with you when you went out this morning. We have nothing to do at Polar Star dorm. I was afraid that you might need them urgently, so I sent them here. Ryoko Sakaki replied to Tadakoro Megumi's words with a smile. At this time, he also turned his attention to Li Xian, who was standing by the side, and said, "This is the manager of Li Xian, I'm Ryoko Sakaki, I'm sorry to bother you, I apologize." "It doesn't matter, you are very welcome to come as guests." Li Xian looked at Ryoko Sakaki, who was slightly bowing and holding the wine bottle. Sure enough, it was more fun to be a big sister with such a big heart. "Hello, Manager Li Xian, you are so handsome, my name is Yoshino Yuki, you can call me Yuki, I brought you a lot of seeds this time." Yoshino Yuki, who is very jubilant here, also came up to Li Xian to introduce himself, a lovely energetic outgoing girl, and sure enough, the 3 girls in Polar Star dorm are all different types. In the store, it was still some time before the store opened, and the ingredients were almost ready, so Li Xian and Sakaki Ryoko sat down to chat, eat, and know that they had tasted all the ingredients that Li Xian brought out. It is an ingredient unique to the gourmet world. As for the rice juice from Ryoko Sakaki and the seeds Li Xian brought by Yoshino Yuki, they were all collected. On the table, Li Xian poured cocoa made from the sweet cocoa fruit of koalas for Ryoko Sakaki and the others. The sweet cocoa fruit of koala has its own sweetness, so there is no need to add more sugar to taste, and it is very mellow directly in the mouth. There are also some crunchy mushrooms on the table. As for the main cake, Sakaki Ryoko and the others tasted it last night, and it was almost time for dinner. I will definitely invite them to a meal later, so I can't eat anything after eating the cake for a while. Another drink, watermelon soda, is good to take it out when you have a formal meal. Don't finish all the good things in one go. As for Li Xian, although cocoa is delicious, relatively speaking, he still prefers to drink tea. Whether it is in a previous life or in this world, he can drink cocoa once in a long time, but Li Xian can't stand it regularly, and he's too tired. Drinking hot cocoa and eating crunchy mushrooms is truly a new version of the boat that Sakaki Ryoko and Yoshino Yuki have never experienced before. After Li Xian came to this world, although he opened a restaurant and met a lot of people, there were not many who could be called friends. It was rare for such a few people to sit down and chat and listen to a few girls talking about their lives there, study. Li Xian, who had experienced a big explosion of information in his previous life, always made them laugh. The big TV hanging in Li Xian's store was also turned on, and a few people watched the movie and chatted. Seeing that it was almost time, Li Xian went into the kitchen and started to work. Tadakoro Megumi and the others didn't let Li Xian come in to help, so let them sit outside and wait. For Li Xian, the profession of a chef is not just for making a living. Li Xian prefers to cook delicious dishes with his own hands to entertain his friends, get their praise and see them happy smile. Pork chopped on buri, fried Xinjiang vegetables, golden egg fried rice, shredded pork with green peppers, magic mapo tofu, crispy boiled meat, silky chicken stewed rice, yunlong fried shrimp. Li Xian can be said to show his skills, and he has cooked all the dishes in the restaurant and filled the table. Wow! It all looks delicious. Yoshino Yuki felt that his eyes couldn't see it. There were so many dishes on the table. He obviously didn't stop his mouth all afternoon, but after smelling the aroma of these dishes, he felt hungry again. Sakaki Ryoko was not as surprised as Yoshino Yuki, but she was careful and found a clue. When the dishes were brought out of the pot, there were little lights on them. At first, she wondered if she was dazzled, but after a closer look, she found that almost every dish was there, and when she contacted what Tadakoro Megumi had said before, Ryoko Sakaki had a guess in her heart. Of course, I don't think Li Xian put some illegal fluorescent agent in it. After all, the kitchen is transparent, and the ingredients are all prepared by him and Tadakoro Megumi. Everyone can see the cooking process, so this idea is crossed out. If so, how is it done? Sakaki Ryoko buried this doubt in her heart, and plans to go back and ask other people or find some documents to see if there are any relevant records. The most important thing now is of course to taste all the food in front of you one by one, and other things can be slowed down. When the first bite of food was put into the mouth and started to chew, Sakaki Ryoko and Yoshino Yuki couldn't stop, as if their hands and mouth were out of control. They kept stuffing food into their mouths. If only one or two dishes are so delicious, it's fine, but every dish is so amazing. Every dish has a new taste, a new experience, the feeling of being unable to stop, and the refreshing and cold watermelon soda water is also good. They finally knew why Tadakoro Megumi admired Li Xian so much, and it would not be much better if it was themselves, and they were shocked by coming here today. A handsome and gentle older brother, with good cooking skills, the dishes he cooks are so delicious, and he can come up with magical ingredients, no girl can stand it. When they finished eating, it was almost the time when they were really busy. Sakaki Ryoko and Yoshino Yuki, who were full, saw such a hot business in the store. After all, they just tasted it themselves. That's weird. Afterwards, regardless of Li Xian's persuasion, the two rolled up their sleeves and joined the ranks of helping out. saying that they would do some exercise after they were full. Li Xian persuaded them a few times and found out that they were still doing their own way, so he didn't say more, but secretly wrote down this matter in his heart. When it was about to close in the evening, the customers in the store were almost gone, and no one came in at this time. It was a regular customer who knew that Li Xian's side would close at what time. The opening hour signs also tell them when they close. Basically, few people choose a store that is going to close for a rest. After all, there is only one table of guests in the store, and there is always a sense of urgency, so that they can't help speeding up the speed of eating. Cannot eat well, too unpleasant. The second is that by this time, the ingredients in the general store are almost consumed, and no one wants to order this or that when they enter the store. Therefore, generally experienced diners would not eat in such a fast-closing restaurant. After all, the restaurant is quite embarrassing, and the reception is not. It seems inappropriate to drive away the guests without reception. Looking at the clock hanging on the wall, Li Xian said to the 3 Tadakoro Megumi over there, "It's so late, you should go back, especially Ryoko and Xiaoji. I'm bothering you today. Obviously they're here as guests, but the result is also getting busy." Sakaki Ryoko waved to Yoshino Yuki, saying that it was nothing. "It doesn't matter, we don't have anything to do at Polar Star Dorm now that school is not open. It's good to help out this afternoon. After all, if there is no accident in the future, we will join a restaurant or open a restaurant by ourselves. Now we are also learning, observing, and accumulating experience." The 3 of Tadakoro Megumi tidied up a little and left without too much tweaking. After an afternoon and an evening of getting along, the relationship between several people is also very close, so there is no need to say too much. Li Xian told them to wait until later when he had new dishes and new magical ingredients, and he would definitely invite them to come and taste a wave. Li Xian routinely waited until the last guest left, and after a little tidying up, he handed everything over to the system. Carrying food for cats and dogs to the back door, Li Xian was thinking about one thing. Today, the finishing of the backyard is over. Li Xian took a look and built it according to the drawings perfectly. Now that the cat and kennels have been built, these kittens and puppies who have been exposed to the wind and the sun can also move into their new homes and move into their new homes. But before that, they need to do one more thing. Thinking of this, Li Xian took out his mobile phone, found a person in the address book and called. "Hello, is this Dr. Inoue? I'm Li Xian, from Li's restaurant. The thing I told you last time." It didn't take long for Li Xian to put down the phone. The person who just called him was the manager of a pet hospital. Li Xian made an appointment with him and asked him to bring someone over tomorrow to clean and vaccinate the cats and dogs. After all, they have been wandering outside for a long time, even if Li Xian has cleaned and fed them a little recently, but it is just a simple process, and it still needs a veterinarian to conduct a systematic and comprehensive examination. As for why the other party came to the door instead of Li Xian bringing cats and dogs, it was naturally because there were too many cats and dogs, and it was more convenient for people to come. Secondly, there is no need for Li Xian to keep staring at this place. This kind of professional thing can be handled by professional people, and it will not affect Li Xian's continued business tomorrow. "Don't run around all day tomorrow, stay here, okay?" Li Xian said to the well-fed cats and dogs, especially their respective leaders, who are more intelligent and humane than other cats and dogs. The leader of the cat is a pure white Persian cat with pure white fur that looks like a noble princess. The leader of the dog is a handsome German shepherd, with his head held high, like an iron-blooded general. Li Xian also doesn't know why they are mixed into the stray cats and dogs. After all, no one would be willing to abandon them, right? After getting their response, Li Xian nodded and went back to rest. He could only keep them out for another night tonight. After a night of silence, Li Xian just woke up the next morning when he received a call from Dr. Inoue, telling Li Xian that they had arrived. Li Xian opened the door, and sure enough, 7 or 8 people were standing by the door with full equipment. No way. According to the number of cats and dogs Li Xian told them yesterday, Dr. Inoue was afraid that there was not enough time to complete it completely. For such a big deal, he wouldn't push it out, so he came so early. It can be said that all the staff of the veterinary hospital came over today, and the site of the veterinary hospital was closed for a day off. Following Li Xian into the restaurant, and then passing by the backyard, everyone was amazed by the backyard. Although the plants have not been planted yet, looking at the current layout, everyone can imagine what it will be like when the place is full of plants. Beauty. When Li Xian opened the back door and brought in all the cats and dogs, they were even more shocked. It was not that they had never seen so many cats and dogs, but that they had never seen so many cats and dogs that were so well behaved. Led by the Persian cat and German shepherd at the front, they waited obediently in the backyard like children on a spring outing. However, there is still some professional quality. After a little stunned, everyone started to open the tools they brought and started to get busy. Dr. Inoue, I will trouble you later. These cats and dogs are very well behaved. If you need anything, you can come to the store and find me. Li Xian stood by and watched for a while and found that there was no problem, and then went to work in the store. With the deterrence of Persian cats and German shepherds, even the most hated step of bathing is very cooperative, which shocked Dr. Inoue and the others. They have never encountered such a cooperative cat or dog, so I think Li Xian, a young man, has something to do with it. A little mysterious. He is obviously a restaurant owner and a chef, but he still has the ability to tame animals like this, and he is still so young. Okay, Manager Li Xian, go ahead and leave it to us. These cats and dogs are so well behaved, it seems that today can be completed as planned. Li Xian returned to the store, just happened to deliver the ingredients over there, and continued to be busy counting the ingredients and then processing the ingredients. This morning was also very fulfilling. When Tadakoro Megumi arrived, he heard the voices of people and cats and dogs in the backyard and asked, Brother Li Xian, are you going to plant plants in the backyard today? No, people from the veterinary hospital came over today to examine the cats and dogs, and they can come in later. So that's the case, then I'm going to take a look. Li Xian is also clear about feeding those cats and dogs Tadakoro Megumi, and he also likes those cute little Tadakoro Megumi very much, but he has always been in the backyard before, and he doesn't see them very much, and they run around during the day, and he wants to have a relationship with them. No contact. This time they live in the backyard and have a permanent home, and it's a lot easier to play with them when they want to. Li Xian didn't stop Tadakoro Megumi's behavior. Who can refuse those little cuties? Especially teenage girls. Wow. Tadakoro Megumi came to the backyard and was shocked by the cats and dogs in the whole yard. He couldn't see so many cute ones. Thinking that he could play with them later, Tadakoro Megumi laughed happily. However, she just stood by and watched for a while and then came back without passing. The cats and dogs have not been cleaned, and I will be busy in the restaurant for a while, so it is not good to touch them now. Secondly, now is not the time to play, there is still a lot of work to do in the store, and my training has not yet started. Although Li Xian would not be dissatisfied with his behavior, the sensible Tadakoro Megumi would not do it, and he did not want Li Xian to have a bad impression of himself. Coming back so soon? Li Xian was also very surprised that Tadakoro Megumi came back in such a short time. Well, there are still many opportunities for contact in the future. The things in the store have not been completed. Besides, the little cuties have not finished their inspections, so I won't go over and make trouble. After washing his hands, Tadakoro Megumi came over to work skillfully and answered Li Xian's words. It doesn't matter. I can't spend much time on these things alone. But there will be many opportunities for contacts later. Speaking of the latter, Li Xian did not persuade him anymore, because he knew Tadakoro Megumi's temperament, knew the priorities of things, when to do things, and would not be disturbed by other things, which is also a quality that Li Xian appreciates very much. At the same time, you can also consider that contact with those cats and dogs will affect your work, not only in terms of time, but also when you touch, there will definitely be bacteria, hair, and other things sticking to your body. A chef needs to pay attention to hygiene. Think of the chef who was eliminated because the hairspray was scented. And there is nothing wrong with the saying that details determine success or failure. Li Xian and Tadakoro Megumi were busy as always. By noon, they cooked a table full of dishes for a few people working in the backyard. At least the portion was more than the sales. After all, there were many people. There were not enough tables in the restaurant because there were many customers at noon. Li Xian asked Dr. Inoue and the others to eat at the restaurant on the second floor. The delicious dishes made them feel that this time out was not about how much money they made, but about the meal. Why are there so many guests on the first floor? At noon Li Xian also arranged a few rooms for them to rest, but they all refused. Even if the cats and dogs cooperate, but the number is there, half of the goal will be completed in one morning. The time is tight and the task is heavy, so they still have to hurry up. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.